Well, thanks everybody for joining us tonight for our virtual CTE discussion. Tonight's topic is on designing and developing high-quality registered apprenticeships in the U.S. The development of registered apprenticeship programs is challenged by our capacity to preserve the foundational principles that this system was built on. This discussion will identify the foundational principles and best practices that need to be in place for high-quality registered apprenticeship programs. Tonight's discussion is going to be led by Andy Wormies, who is the consultant for skilled and technical sciences with the Iowa Department of Education. His prior experience includes over 25 years working and supervising construction projects and teaching and administering apprenticeship programs at the local, state, and national levels. His perspective on the future of apprenticeship issues has developed as a result of years of working in apprenticeship, studying how apprenticeship is structured in foreign countries, running training programs for 11 years with community college, and working with secondary and post-secondary programs for almost 10 years to support CTE education and training with the Iowa Department of Education. For those of you who are connected with us tonight, if you can join us with the audio, that's great. There will be parts of the discussion where you can chime in. But if you aren't connected via audio, feel free to use the chat box on the side to type in any questions or comments you have. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Andy.
Thank you, Catherine. Good evening, everybody. Appreciate you joining us this evening. And you know, I have a little history that I'm sharing here in terms of the fact that many people's surnames actually originated from their occupation, which is really interesting. I wanted to take about 5 minutes and get people's thoughts on, a person completes an apprenticeship. What have they gained? Where are they at in terms of the advantages and what they're going to be able to do in their occupation and so on and so forth. So I'd like to open, I don't know, should I have some introductions first? Have they ever done that, or how do you think we should do this? Okay, so
yeah.
Okay, so maybe we can go around then, and you can please tell me, share your name and where you're from, and then maybe also something on the response to the question. Okay, who'd like to start? Any takers?
I can start. I'm Heather Singmaster. I'm at the Asia Society. I'm an associate director there for education in our Center for Global Education. And we've done quite a bit of work on looking at international best practice. So we spent some time in Switzerland studying their apprenticeship system there. And so I know from that experience, seeing that they really work with students to help develop those quote unquote soft skills, the communication skills, the teamwork skills, as well as all the sort of basics of showing up on time and managing your finances and all of those sorts of things.
So that would be more in the well, the students are in the high school, or when they're starting the apprenticeship, or?
Yeah, more, yes, they go to school part-time, and then they're in the apprenticeship sort of 3 days a week usually. But it is the younger students who are 16 to 18 years old. They're also learning hard skills as well, of course,
sure,
depending on where they are.
Okay, next person, please. Somebody else want to join in sharing, or?
Sure. This is Jennifer Jazanowski, and I'm at the Colorado Community College system, and I'm the program director for skilled trades. And we've spent quite a large time in the past year and a half here in Colorado exploring youth apprenticeships, and we've also studied the Swiss system at several delegations over. So we've got some things in play, and we're still struggling with how those will play out long term, and how our youth apprenticeships will feed into our regular apprenticeships that we have, and what else we need to develop along the way.
Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else want to offer anything here?
We have somebody who's typed in the chat box.
Okay.
We have a Henry
I see.
Johnson from with Carpenters.
Oh, hi, Henry. I know. Yeah, sure. I know Henry. Welcome, Henry. Very good. Okay. So Henry's with the St. Louis Carpenters Apprenticeship Program, and they have a very fine program out there. Actually, a number of programs in the skilled trades area, from millwrights to cabinet making to carpentry, and those are joint labor management programs out there, very strong. So, okay, anybody else? Okay, well, so I'm going to cover this evening basically, hopefully I can share my my screen here. Let me find out here. So, okay. Did that share that? Did that share my presentation?
Yeah, I see the PowerPoint.
Okay, so it's first slide is designing and developing high quality registered apprenticeship programs. Is that that's so? Okay, very good. Okay, so basically what I want to do is talk about some of the issues in terms of how programs are, the components that are in programs, and so on and so forth. You know, we talked a little bit about already that apprenticeship started in the medieval period, and so basically it started with the guilds, and the reason that it was such an advantageous system was because it enabled skilled craftsmen at that time it was men joined together to act collectively. Okay, and basically they controlled production, set industry standards, set product quality, marketing, and so on and so forth. Preserve the rights of their members. Established and enforced their industry standards, and decided who could practice and who would not practice the craft. And so there were mainly three levels of individuals. The first, an apprentice. And you see basically it was a teenager, went to live with the master and his family. Only masters could train apprentices in those days. Journey workers did not train apprentices. You had to be a master. Anyway, after the apprentice completed their training, they had to prove that they had the skills, so they had to satisfy the guild's requirements for testing. Then they became a journeyman, and they were expected to journey throughout the land and practice their craft. And after they did that for a period of time, they were eligible to challenge to become a master, and they had to again complete guild requirements, and they had to build a masterpiece, which is where that word came from. And then once they achieved master status, then they could practice the craft and train apprentices. So as settlers from Europe populated our colonies, they brought the guild concept of apprenticeship with them, and many years later, this was formalized by the Apprenticeship Act which I have hot linked. And following this presentation, I'll forward the PDF of these slides out to you folks, and so you'll have the hot links. Okay. Today's apprenticeship programs are mainly regulated through rulemaking authority within the U.S. Code of Federal Regulations, and there's two areas that are covered in 29 Code of Federal Regulations Part 29 and 29 CFR Part 30 cover the labor standards and the equal employment opportunity respectively. And again, you can access those with those hot links. And let's see here. So for example, I don't know. So can you see can you see the 29 CFR Part 29 now? Yeah, you can. I see. I've shared it. Hopefully. So basically, huh?
I still see just the first slide of the. Okay, now I see it. Sorry.
Okay, so the basically these are published. Anything federal government is always published in the Federal Register, which is where you'll find 29 CFR Part 29 here. See, and 29 CFR Part 30 from the hot links. Okay, and so you can. These are very detailed, and you'll get everything that you want to know about apprenticeship. The serious details are in the Code of Federal Regulations. And so let's see, I'm going to bring hopefully back up the resume slideshow. Okay, hang on a minute here. I think I've outsmarted myself. Okay, so it should be back on there now. Except that that's not the one I want to share. I want to share the one on top. Okay, so I'm back in business now, right? Okay, so then now you have also 29 CFR Part 30, which covers all the equity and all that. Okay, equal affirmative action, and so there's a lot of regulations that are that are required of apprenticeship standards and programs, and we're going to talk about some of them tonight. But we could talk all night about this if we really get into the weeds. So let me first talk about, so we have the federal regulations, and so really, when a person graduates when they advance to a journey worker status from an apprenticeship, they've served it, they've finished it, there are some serious benefits that they accrue from that, and some of these are listed here. Improved skills and competencies that meet the specific needs of employer. Okay, incremental wage increases that they accrue along the way as their skills build, on-the-job training and occupation-focused education, career advancement as they, as they proceed through. I started out serving an apprenticeship, and my last job was 21-story hotel, which I was in supervision of. So career advancement, excellent. Industry issued nationally recognized credentials, which is really important because you can migrate from one employer to another employer, and taking advantage of the ability to be able to improve your quality of life, and compete for jobs that are attractive to you, and so on and so forth, because you have very good skills. And the other important consideration is articulation agreements between apprenticeship programs to 2-year and 4-year colleges that create also the opportunity for college credit and future degrees. So the benefits to apprentices is good. On the other hand, there are also some very attractive benefits to employers. Customized training results in highly skilled employees that are trained to industry and employer specifications. They increase the productivity and the knowledge transfer due to the on-the-job learning, which is supervised by a mentor, in combination with the related technical instruction that is delivered usually through a joint labor management training apprenticeship program process, or through a community college, or could be through also a unilateral program. There's also enhanced retention, which is in these days and times very attractive because many students don't complete programs, but apprenticeship programs have an 80% program completion rate, approximately, and so that's very, very good. So when you talk about return on investment, that speaks well for the program. There's an emphasis on safety training that may reduce workers' compensation costs, and also that's extremely good also for the worker, as well as the employer, because accident rates in the country actually from the last 2015 data that was just released have actually gone up. And so, people that serve apprenticeship programs get very good safety training. They have better performance on the job in that regard. A stable and predictable pipeline for the development of quality workers is also attractive for employers. So why registered apprenticeship? Well, to quote from the Fitzgerald Act, strengthening the national apprenticeship system by providing consistency and continuity across the system is what they want to achieve. And this is direct quotes: establishing a consistent framework to promote the improved performance outcomes and quality, and to protect and safeguard the welfare of apprentices. And so that's why we have 29 CFR Part 29 and 29 CFR Part 30, because it provides the framework and the regulations that guarantee that that framework is going to be in effect for the apprenticeship program. So it protects the quality of the overall quality of the program. There are a number of core elements of registered apprenticeship, and so one is defined and approved apprenticeship standards. So whenever you develop apprenticeship standards, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, basically you do those in compliance with federal regulations that are listed in that second box from the bottom, 29 CFR Parts 29 and 30. And then you also have a contractual agreement with the Department of Labor, the sponsoring entity, which is the employer, or the Joint Labor Management Committee, or the collective employers, and the apprentices that are being trained. So in terms of the foundational components, there's some foundational components of registered apprenticeship. So a big advantage is the workforce education partnership, because you have industry, which provides the structured on-the-job training, and you have some sort of an educational supportive part of the partnership that provides the related training instruction. So that's the second and third. And then built into the standards is the progressive wage increases for attainment of skills and knowledge that apprentices accrue along the way. And whether it's time-based, or whether it's competency-based, or whether it's hybrid, those apprentices can count on the fact that as they go through this apprenticeship, they're actually making progress that's very tangible. It increases their quality of living, and that's what and ensures their future. And so results in portable credentials that are nationally recognized. And so it's a big win-win. We call it the best kept secret because the average age of an apprentice in the United States is about 26 years old. So that's something that with our efforts in apprenticeship, we're trying to have some serious effect on. So basically, when you look at the various parts of apprenticeship, it's supervised, structured on the job training, and that's provided by the sponsor, which is the employer. And that's considered to be the primary component of apprenticeship because the apprentices work an average of about 2,000 hours per year. And so they're on the job for a long time, and they get supervised in terms of their development of their skills. So much of the skills, knowledge, and abilities are learned and practiced on the job. And then that is also boosted by the related training that gives them theory that they also utilize as they practice their skills. So there's written standards that govern on the job training, and there's also the requirement that work must be supervised by a skilled journey worker. So then along with that, we have the other serious component, which is the related training instruction. So that's theoretical and it's technical. And so a lot of it these days is provided through a community college connection, but in the joint labor management sector, much of that is also provided in training centers that are purchased by and run by the training trust fund that provides training for apprentices. So there's various ways that related training instruction is delivered, and in some cases there's no cost for to the apprentice, mainly from joint labor management programs. But there are a lot of programs that where the employer may pay tuition cost of the related training, which in a roundabout way happens in joint labor management programs, but through negotiation of contributions. But apprentices may also pay tuition and usually pay for books. But in the end, apprentices usually don't have the loans that college students have when they finish, and so in that regard, the apprentice is ahead also. I want to talk about just a few definitions so that we can talk the same language. So within 29 CFR Part 29, you'll see on the top it says it references the section of the definitions. And so the apprenticeship program, it's a plan containing all the terms and conditions, qualifications for recruitment, selection, employment, and training of apprentices under 29 CFR Parts 29 and 30. So that's basically, so you can see 29 CFR Part 29 and 30 are the controlling factors for apprenticeship. So competency means the attainment of manual, mechanical, and technical skills and knowledge as specified by the occupational standard and demonstrated by an appropriate written and hands-on proficiency measurement. So one of the foundations of apprenticeship is that apprentices learn skills, knowledge, and abilities and prove that competency to industry standards. And that's very important. So then related technical instruction is the organized and systematic form of instruction that provides apprentices with knowledge, theoretical, technical subjects related to the occupation. And we're going to talk a little bit about, so what are the occupations? Well, there's actually occupations that are considered to be apprenticeable. And the description of that starts out with that it has to involve the progressive attainment of manual, mechanical, and technical skills in accordance with industry standards for the occupation. That would require at least 2,000 hours of on-the-job learning to attain it. And then that has to be approved by the Office of Apprenticeship as an apprenticeable occupation, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But I referenced before 3 approaches to completing apprenticeship, and one is the competency-based approach, which is basically competency-based training where the apprentice can proceed at their own rate through the related training instruction, okay? The second is traditional time-based approach, which involves completion of at least 2,000 hours of on-the-job experience. And basically, it's 2,000 hours per year. So if it's a 1-year program, you'll have 2,000 hours. If it's a 2-year program, you'll have 4, and so on and so forth. And 3 is the hybrid approach, which requires apprentices to complete a specified minimum number of on-the-job hours and related training and demonstrate competency. Okay? So in terms of what the Office of Apprenticeship, which is under the Employment and Training Administration within the U.S. Department of Labor, the Office of Apprenticeship is the governing office that controls apprenticeship. They've established criteria and procedures for recognizing an apprenticeable occupation. So that's what we talked about a little bit ago. And it requires industry verification and validation of skills and knowledge necessary for the occupation. You know, the progression of skills, and the basic result is that it should result in portable credential that has meaning to employers nationwide. So apprenticeship is not a specialized area of the small specialized area of the occupation. It's going to be broader than that, and always has been and should be. So the standards, which really, it's the standards document that really is the framework for any apprenticeship program. And it must contain provisions that address the outline of the work processes that in which the apprentice will receive supervised work experience and training on the job, and they also allocate the amount of time that they're going to spend in each major process, and then also have a provision for organized and related instruction and technical subjects. So here's an example, and I don't usually use this type of thing in a PowerPoint because you can't hardly read it, but this is from NIMS, which is the National Institute of Manufacturing. So they have a competency-based apprenticeship system set up. And you know, they have set up their competency listings. And so when apprentices go through, they have to prove competency in each one of these task areas right here. And so one is identify and demonstrate usage of machine safety and personal protective equipment. Let's see here. I'll jump down to number 10 is manual operations bench work. 11 is sawing. 13 is drilling operations. 14 is manually milling and squaring up a block. 15 is manual milling, vertical and horizontal. So, you know, the work process hours become specific to the skill set that the apprentice is going to develop through on-the-job training and the related training instruction, and they're going to be tested competent to competency. So their apprentices are required to learn and be tested competent, okay, in the industry skills. And the occupations that are acceptable as apprenticeship occupations are identified in the Rapids listing of occupations. There's a hot link there to it. So if you navigate to that, it takes you to the Registered Apprenticeship Partners Information Data System, and provides a listing of all the apprenticeship occupations that are approved by the USDOL ETA Office of Apprenticeship. And that's going to look something like Probably put it out of order. I'll have to catch it later unless it got somehow deleted. But so let me get back to, so when you think about occupations, okay, the question becomes, so what does the skill set of an occupation look like? Because, you know, within apprenticeship, what we strive to do is build a program to industry standards. And so we want a profile of the skill set and the industry standards that we should be building a program to. And so the ONET connection is really valuable in terms of accessing crosswalks that list skill sets, and so it identifies the SOC code and the skill sets. It identifies the SIP code, which is the classification of instructional program, which is related training instruction that supports training for that occupation. And so all that is available through the ONET connection, and I've included the hot link here. And then the other ONET resource is called the ONET Academy, and that's very valuable development resource for stakeholders because it provides all the data and information that you need in order to be able to build a program. And there's a lot of resources at that page. So, you know, examples of the Department of Labor, you know, they've approved over 1,000 occupations in many industries, and I've listed some of them here. Now, you know, apprenticeship in the country started out in the skilled trades, and so when you look at the construction trades, they have had apprenticeship for many, many years. Manufacturing has also had it strong in some areas of the country, like for example in Washington State, where you have companies like Boeing. Okay, they've had apprenticeship programs in manufacturing in machinist and tool and die for years, but now we're seeking to expand apprenticeship into quite a number of other areas. So there's some serious challenges to developing quality apprenticeship, registered apprenticeship programs. So now that I've covered some of the, you know, the criteria, there's some areas that are really critical to the attention that they're going to need so that you can put together a quality program. And number one on the list is that the program should be aligned with recognized industry standards. And I have to say that what we have existing in the United States right now is we have a significant number of post-secondary institutions that teach students and they award diplomas, which are one-year programs, and AAS degrees, which are two-year programs. But they don't necessarily, the students don't necessarily achieve NIM certification or American Welding Society AWS certification or some of the certifications that are the recognized industry standards. And when you're talking about apprenticeship programs, it's extremely important that those programs contain that requirement and provide that preparation and certification. So bullet 2 on the list is the work process hours apprentices will complete. And in today's industry, the big challenge is specialization. And so an apprentice goes to work for an employer that builds a product that is somewhat specialized, and so the skill set specialized, yet that apprentice needs a wider skill set of training. And so it's very important that in some instances where we find that type of specialization going on, that we get multiple employers together so that we can partner employers with a range that have a range of skills so that the apprentice can rotate through the work process hours they need. And that's, you know, apprenticeship is a very serious training system, and so that rotation and broad-based training has to be preserved. The third bullet is the progressive wage increase for attainment of skills and knowledge. That has to be robust and you know, provide a good quality standard of living for the apprentice. You know, and then bullet 4 deals with assuring that the you know, the graduating apprentice has portability of journey worker certificate that results from that alignment of related training instruction and on-the-job training that to those industry standards. And the next bullet is ensuring qualified teachers deliver related training and instruction aligned with industry standards. You know, the reality is that when I look at some of the programs and institutions around the state, and I see gaps in the curriculum skills that should be students should be learning, more times than not, what it comes down to is that the instructors also have those gaps because they're teaching what they're comfortable teaching, and that's just a reality. So you know, it's important that our teachers are able to access professional development and also can achieve the industry standards that they're expected to be training to. The next bullet, required periodic quality review of apprenticeship programs, which is a requirement of 29 CFR Part 29, and that's very important. And ensuring that the programs produce skilled and competent workers. So when you actually look at, okay, so, you know, how serious is program alignment standards and assessments? So I use this little chart here that I put together, and you know, if you're an archery buff, you know, you want to hit that center of the target. That's not to say that a program might not be on the outside of the target, but if they're actually aligned with industry standards and their assessments are aligned, then they're going to be able to hit that center of that target, and that's what we want to achieve. And so along with this, the DOL apprenticeship has a lot of resources, Office of Apprenticeship, and so they have a playbook, a federal resources playbook, and they have a quick start toolkit, which also helps to build you know, the quality program that is needed, and the resources are there. So what kind of questions do you have for me here, or what kind of discussion? Let's see here. I'm seeing the chat, the group chat. I can probably move that hopefully into the window there. So Anderson Lee from Creating IT Futures outside of Chicago. I'm listening on my way home. Okay, I understand. Let's see, credentials and adaptable skills for a lifetime are gained after the absolutely. And again, may put students on future paths for education. It's not uncommon for apprenticeship programs to have articulation agreements with post-secondary institutions. The apprenticeship programs that I worked with, we always worked to establish those, and that was all the way back in 1979. And the apprentices that completed the program that I was administrating at the time were credited with completing all their technical requirements for the community college, and all they needed to do was to complete their general ed, and then they achieved their AAS degree, which was good, you know. So anyway, I had a slide in here that had a picture of the Rapids listing of approved occupational apprenticeable occupations. I'll make sure that goes back in here before I forward the PDF out. Somehow it got dropped out. What other kind of, let's see, do you think more industries will use the apprenticeship model to reap the benefits of apprenticeship, is what Henry's asking. Well, you know, the federal government released a huge amount of money. I know that the advanced manufacturing industries are going after apprenticeship very, very seriously. They're not only going after, they're not only going to be going after the money, but they're also they're also lobbying Congress for certain tax incentives and advantages that they feel will help to expand apprenticeship. The concern to always have is that as apprenticeship expands, it keeps the quality and the respect that apprenticeship has always had for our workers. So let's see. Do you think there have been recent changes to improve? Why has it taken 40 years? You know, it's really interesting because it's tough. You know, you often hear from employers when they make an investment in apprenticeship, it costs them because they have to allocate the time of a experienced skilled tradesperson or skilled professional to oversee the training of the apprentice. And so you know, an employer has to be willing to do that. And then they're also concerned about, okay, so what happens if I invest in this training and then that person leaves and goes somewhere else? And so these issues have made employers reticent to make that commitment. The joint labor management connection has always been driven through collective bargaining in order to be able to provide for the skilled labor that the industries needed. We have that somewhat also in the unilateral, which is the single, just the employer-run programs to a certain extent also. In the construction industry, we have that. But there's always that concern about, so what if that person leaves after I invest in training them? And that's, if I had to put my finger on one issue, that's an issue, and so is the issue of the productivity, because I might be losing my internet connection. Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. Yeah. So yeah. So that's the issue. Your thoughts on how to engage populations, new populations in apprenticeship? I think that, of course, ACTE is can play a big role in that, and is playing a role in that because of their representation of the profession, And so, you know, they're our professional association, and so they help to spread the word and provide professional development and some of the things that are going, and you know, talk and encourage policy and federal government and so on and so forth. So they're a very important player. The economic development boards and the WIOA, that's also very serious in affecting the expansion of apprenticeship, because they manage the plans for training workers and you know, and providing quality workers for industry. So they're and also provide a number of different funding opportunities that allow for use of more than even one funding source at a time through graded funding opportunities. And so those they're also very important to the yeah. And of course the federal government and you know, encouraging through the grants and things that are out there. So
Hey, Andy, I have a question.
What's that? Sure.
It might be really basic, but if let's say somebody is looking at starting an apprenticeship program, is that typically someone from industry, like a business that spearheads that, or is it more on the education side where they get started? And
that's
how long does it?
Yeah, that's a real excellent question. And sometimes it can be one or the other. You know, we have apprenticeship directors in the federal and the states that run their federally approved offices. They're always out there encouraging and assisting the development of apprenticeship programs. And so when an employer or a educational institution wants to start an apprenticeship program, you know, one of the first things they do is they hook up with that federal or state office, which helps them to write those standards of apprenticeship and helps them organize and get their apprenticeship committees together and things like that. So, you know, it's a workforce education partnership, and both sides work on that together, and they have the support of the federal or state office of apprenticeships when they go into it. So I've seen, you know, sometimes you'll find community colleges that have programs, and you know, they all have advisory committees, and sometimes through discussions they decide that they're going to start an apprenticeship program, and then sometimes it's also the industry that does it through their industry association, like the, you know, yeah. So it's either or, yeah. And one thing I can't speak highly enough of is the support that you'll get from the federal apprenticeship offices as well as your state offices, depending upon which your state happens to be. Those directors and their staff will always help to develop programs to develop their standards and get registered and help them along. So, anything else? We didn't have a whole lot of time. So, I mean, this is pretty much the real basics. There's, you know, there's a lot in the weeds. And so if Catherine, if you have the email addresses from folks that signed in, that registered, what I'll do,
Yeah.
I'll forward the files to you, and you can send it out.
Great. Yeah, so actually, for the people who are on the line with us, if you want to get further notices about anything that we're doing in the future on topics on apprenticeship, or just send me your contact information so that I can forward out the slides, I'd be happy to do that. You can use the chat box to send me your email address. You can send it to just me if you want, instead of the whole group. And I appreciate it. It looks like we had one more question come through for you.
Yeah, and that's also a very good question that Henry asks is, do you think the administration and the White House will continue to promote the value of registered apprenticeship? What I'm really hoping is that the administration gets behind an infrastructure bill, a real heavy infrastructure bill, because we need it in our country. Our bridges are very significantly in trouble. I think over 35% of them or whatever don't meet the engineering requirements that they should be meeting because they're so old and in need of repair. And there's a lot of infrastructure work that needs to be done. If that happens, that is really going to stimulate apprenticeship, because there will be the need for so many more workers. And so that's, yeah. Appreciate the folks that joined us tonight. And it was nice to be able to share with you. If you ever have any questions or whatever, my contact information is down there, so you can feel free to drop me a line or whatever. So,
and thank you so much, Andy, for leading tonight's discussion. For the people who are on, we have recorded it, and we are going to post the recording up on our website back where you, the information about this live discussion was posted. So check back later this week or early next week for the recording, and feel free to share it with anybody who couldn't make it tonight. Thanks again, Andy.
thank you. Bye, everybody.